Hello guys, I wanted to show off my Maytag motor that is officially mine now. This one is different from all the other ones that are actually on my account, but the serial number on this one is, let's see, 694643. You know, it's terrible to see on there. I need to clean this flywheel up a little bit, but I basically got this motor and it was just a giant rust pile. It really didn't look very, camera messed up. Anyway, as I was saying, it wasn't very pretty. And basically I've done everything to this motor, full rebuild and all that, other than a bushing in here, or bearing, should I say, and the main bearings on the crank. Other than that, everything else has completely been redone. But there's not a whole lot to this motor operations wise and things. It's pretty simple. This is actually the carburetor on here. You only have a couple little things on here like the needle and the 4 bolts that hold it in. But there's not really a whole bunch of moving parts or anything like that on here. I can better explain how all this looks on paper. So how the carburetor works on it is basically you come in here and you have your motor, or this is 2 strokes, so this is actually your crankcase, and basically inside of here this gets positively and negatively pressurized as the piston moves back and forth, and what that does is it creates just pressure in here. Now your carburetor is mounted out here to the side and attaches on to the actual side of the crankcase. Now this carburetor has just a couple little spots on it up here at the top. It does take in air, and that's a terrible arrow, but anyway, air comes in here, and then down in the bottom it has on the inside a pickup tube that goes down into the bottom of the fuel tank and is submerged in gasoline. And then right here it's got like a little vent that goes down to the tank, because the tank edge is right there. And from there it's got a needle on here as well, that basically it's got that little brass lever on it. Now this needle screws in here and basically comes in, and where the fuel pickup tube is right here, the fuel comes up and is regulated by how far in and out this needle goes, and that there's also a little orifice right here that comes in, and the fuel gets sucked up and then metered out through this device right here. Now the way that it gets up into the crank is that basically there is like a seal in here and a piston in here as well, that whenever the motor is pressurizing back and forth, it is pushing this piston upwards and downwards rapidly, and every time that it seals that piston, it basically seals the crankcase, allowing the positive pressure to build, forcing the gas and fuel mixture up here to the piston. And other points in time, whenever it is open, it is sucking, and that is sucking fuel in, and that is sucking air in, and it all winds itself back up to the crankcase. But definitely quite the interesting little setup. I drew it terribly. This is the first time I've drawn something, and my camera is being terrible on how it looks. But anyway, yes, basically the needle that comes in the front right here just regulates the amount of fuel that is able to get past the little orifice, and then it gets mixed up into the air mixture by the means of this piston and everything, and winds its way up into the crankcase, lubricating everything. Now, back over here to the motor itself. This is that little needle I was talking about, but basically open is right there, and that allows the fuel to flow into the motor. And closed is over here on this side. That will kind of shut the motor down. It should if you have it all the way over here to the right side, but I'm running mine a little bit rich, so even though it's wherever you put it, you can adjust it a notch at a time to make it work properly. Now this motor does like to run just about right there for its optimal performance, but I've had it straight, I've had it down over here. It'll run pretty much anywhere that you put it, as long as it's not down over here where it's lean. Plus you don't want to be running lean because it's two-stroke anyway. But basically, operations wise on this motor, there's not much to it. You have a kickstart pedal right here, which will allow you to kick over and everything like that. I'm not going to do that too often because there's a possibility it might start. But there is no real ignition cutoff on this particular motor at the moment. Now, there are some that do have them. It's like a little plate, metal wire that comes out here, and it's got like a little plate that sticks up. And the metal wire travels back. And there's a metal plate attached into this hole that whenever you pull that wire, it just touches the end of the spark plug and shorts it out. Now, this is a Champion spark plugs. It's one of the originals to the Maytag motors. They had specifically Maytag spark plugs, but this one in particular is actually bad. And that is one of the main reasons y'all haven't seen this video yet, because it causes this motor to misfire terribly. I've changed that plug out and it runs a billion times better. But it's that model, it's the same thread size as a Model T on the bottom for the Model T motors. And basically it just is too odd of a size for anyone to carry just locally. I've got to order one off the internet if I'm going to do it. And I might as well get my little cutoff switch and plate, make this thing, you know, real nice in the end. But boy, I wish this camera would focus out on me. But it just will not. Just will not do it. Anyways, we'll just have to look at everything close. There are a couple little part numbers every now and then, S233 on the front of there, and I think it's got the same thing on the back of the carburetor. But anyways, yeah, there's really not a whole lot to these. They are air-cooled two-stroke motors, like I said, two-stroke earlier, but this one actually used to be, after I got it completely cleaned up and everything, it used to be safety yellow. It isn't back to its green color, which this is a proper Maytag green, but it's real close, and it works out just fine. But this is original spark plug wire that I found on eBay, just like I got all of these nice looking gaskets for everything off of eBay as well. You can pretty much buy any part that you need for these motors on eBay. Quite surprising. There are some little private people as well that sell the parts and things, but really that's all I actually have on this motor, just due to the fact there's not much on it. And it actually cools itself with these little vanes right here in the flywheel, and whenever it's spinning, it's pushing air, and boy, it pushes quite an amount of air through here. But one last thing on this is actually the way that this device runs. I got the camera to focus a little bit better there, but anyway, it's not your typical motor on the way that things, on how it sounds and operates, on the strokes and things like that. You know, typically a two-stroke is just up, fire, down, up, fire, down, up, fire, down, just over and over again. That's just the way that the two-stroke works. This, it is a two-stroke still, so every time the piston is at top dead center, it does fire, and then it comes back down, then it go up and fire again. But underneath this flywheel plate right here, which I would take off if I had a proper size bolt and stuff, there is a weight on this flywheel that has a little roller on it that it cuts out the ignition at a certain RPM, which I think is real low number. Pretty slow motor overall. And these motors weren't made for throttle or anything like that. They were just made for consistent speed. And what that ignition cutout does on it is that whenever it's spinning, if it's spinning too fast, then it will block the spark, and then the motor will miss on that cycle. And then once it comes back around, if it's still going too fast, it'll miss again. And now it's slowed down enough so it'll hit that time and speed up. So it's actually kind of like a hit and miss motor, just due to the fact of it has the ignition cutout on it. But it sounds really kind of odd whenever it's sitting there running. You can see in some of my other Maytag videos the way that they sound. But it's just one pop, then it'll spin, 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 spin. Another pop, spin, 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 so on and so forth. Until you put your hand or your foot or a load on here, and then it will act like a normal motor underneath extreme load, where it just pop, 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 pop every time that it's running. And I don't run them too often on that hard, but I do. It's good for them every now and then. Now, I did make a little mistake on this motor. If you can hear, it's got a little knock in there. And these motors run on standard 30 weight non-detergent oil. Kind of hard to come by unless you go out to an automotive shop or you buy it online. Not something that just your Walmart has or something like that. But I had seen posts on online about people that were trying alternative oils and things, and a lot of people had good success with Evinrude outboard oils and things like that. So of course I tried, and even though I mixed up my mixtures rich and everything like that for the oil gas mixture, I still seem to have killed the bearing in here. Now it still runs perfectly fine, it's just that you can hear it for sure, and it's just real soft bronze bushings and things inside of there. And it's also got a little bit of side-to-side play in it, but the main thing is that it just knocks like that because of the brass or bronze bushing in here that has worn down over the time and me running it with crappy oil. But I imagine if I had run it on 30 weight, it'd probably have been just fine, just due to the design of things. But sadly, that's not how things went. But anyways, guys, this is my Maytag. If I am correct, that serial number on here, 643, is equivalent to 1935 or 6, something like that. I can get more specific on that at a later point in time. But anyways, guys, this is my 36 Maytag. That's what I'm going to call it for right now. Take care.